When the Saudi artist and serving soldier Abdel Nasser Garam started out, there were no art schools in his country and only a handful of contemporary galleries to display his work in. So he took it to the streets. Katie Razzle has more.
He wraps himself up with a tree on a Saudi Arabian street for a performance on the environment. He fuses Islamic imagery with America's Capitol dome for an installation on democracy. And he examines the rhythms of Islamic life as he tries to bring about change from within his society. Abdel Nasser Garam is a serving soldier described by Rolling Stone magazine as the rock star of Saudi art, a conceptual artist on a mission, and his first major solo show is at London's Edge of Arabia gallery.
What I'm trying to do is the spark. If you create a kind of a platform and the people will start to negotiate and talk and have that kind of dialogue, I think that's the change, the start of the change. It will come.
Garam wants people to question what they've been told to believe. His work is challenging without being antagonistic, tackling religion and violence, what he calls holy ignorance, taking on any kind of ideology, relations between the Muslim and non-Muslim world.
My first impression of Abdel Nasser when I met him was that he was brave. You know, it's not easy to raise your voice about some of the issues that he's raising. It's full of politics and it's full of questions and it's full of challenging some of those difficult issues which exist between the Islamic world and the West.
Amongst the London exhibits, his series of stamp pictures, painted on huge plywood boards, he's covered in thousands of rubber stamp letters, a comment on the bureaucracy of the Middle East's autocratic regimes where you need official sanction for everything.
If there is no stamp, you are not existing, if you know what I mean. From the beginning of your life, I mean, the birth, you should have a stamp, married, you should have a stamp. Even if you're on a vacation, you should have stamps.
But hidden in these stamp paintings are words and phrases, some potentially controversial. They got through Saudi censors because Garam waited until they reached London to fill them in. Here it says battle for the future of the Muslim world. This picture not a comment on Islam, he says, but on the people who use it to justify violence.
It's camouflaged with the Islamic or Arabic geometry, you know. And we have two different geometry here. We have the Shia one and the Sunnah one, the Sunnah geometry.
When Garam did this, fellow Saudis thought he was crazy. In a country without art schools and few galleries back then, his only option was to take his art to the streets. He's self-taught. Much of his understanding of the art world learnt from the internet. But he's hidden an email icon as a nod to the net as a tool to spread hatred in this picture of an American bomber. Two of his classmates were 9/11 attackers.
We were sitting together and they were my friends, and I don't know they will do that. So you can do the brainwash through these, you know, communication. It's easy. I think they get changed in 2 or 3 months and they just did their mission.
So you think that they were brainwashed in a very short period of time?
It's 100%, I'm sure of it.
Most of the men behind 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. In this absolute monarchy run under Sharia law, there's never been a national election. Human rights are regularly violated, and women are even banned from driving.
They have a kind of good positions in the government, you know.
But they're still not allowed to drive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna come, you know, it's gonna come.
But they've always been saying that for so long.
I don't know, but I'm not the right guy who's going to answer this question.
Garam wants change in the Middle East, but says it's not his role to force it. And for the moment, his London show is too subversive to be seen in Saudi Arabia.